The Ramones didn't need mohawks to be punk. They never had one. I don't think anyone in the band ever had one. They were visually aggressive. They were four working class construction worker delinquents from Forest Hills, Queens. Who were armed with 2-minute songs that they rattled off like machine gun fire. And it was enough to change the Earth's revolution, at least the music of the time. It was an assault. Someone asked Johnny Ramone once why the songs were so short. He said they're actually fairly long songs played very, very quickly. First time I saw the Ramones, I was pretty young, and before the show even started, I was trying to get closer and closer, and got up to the stage, and as I'm up there packed and ready, and even a little bit nervous, I mean, just the crowd was intense, the look of the crowd. Outcasts, one and all. They were, hardcore punkers with spikes on their jackets, chains on their boots, even skinheads and horror film fans, nerds and geeks and outcasts that were all ready to get out all their aggression in the next hour and 15 minutes. I remember this as I was getting closer. I saw the microphone stand. Something really strange about the microphone stand in the middle, and that it was about 10 feet high. There was something really strange about that. I saw a roadie put the set list down. He stood up, and he was half the size of the microphone stand. I thought, who the fuck is going to sing at that microphone stand? It was very unsettling. And then looking at the amount of amps that they had symmetrically placed on either side, and knowing that there was a huge amount of volume that was going to come out of that, it was very unsettling. And then the lights go out and they start playing the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then the crowd starts getting into third and fourth gear, and then they come out, and 1, 2, 3, 4 into the first song, and all hell broke loose. It was complete chaos. The guy with the boots with the chains all of a sudden were right in front of your face, swinging by, and it was terribly frightening and totally blissful at the same time. So I think of the amount of intensity in that show and that one night, and I think of how many times that happened. The Ramones played 2,269 shows. J-Lo's got a lot of catching up to do. And speaking of J-Lo, disco was huge in the 70s. Disco took over the clubs and the airwaves, along with the indulgent guitar solos and 7-minute songs that was the musical landscape of 1976. Ramones made a record in 1977. There's a black and white photo of 4 guys in leather jackets, all with the last names, Converse shoes and jeans standing against a brick wall. And this became a beacon for anyone who ever wanted to be in a band. Those disenfranchised by the dynasties of giant rock bands. They obliterated the mystique of what it was to play in a band. You didn't have to know scales. I mean, with the knowledge of 2 bar chords, you could play along with their records, and that's what people did. They sat in front of their parents' hi-fis and played along with Road to Ruin or It's Alive record, and within weeks they were starting bands with other kids in town who were doing the same thing. All of a sudden you could be on stage getting out, saying what you feel, sing about sniffing glue, and not be a virtuoso, not be genetically gifted with Elvis's cheekbones either. You could look like an outcast and still be cool. Talking Heads were the same. way, in a same thing in a different way. Yeah, it's a great night. But the Ramones were a blueprint so necessary at the time. I mean, that fact alone is so important for everything that came after. Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth was saying that he can't think of a band or a musician these days where the Ramones weren't a very important part of their life. John McBain, a great musician from Seattle that I know, said something, and I think he spoke for the whole Seattle community, that the Ramones were our Beatles. Going back to that time in CBGB's New York scene, Patti Smith said it was a reclamation of rock and roll, that we created it and we're going to take it back. Let's take it over. Yeah. I'm up here for a bit. I need to. You know, and it may have to happen again, because Thurston and I were talking, and now it's, you know, now it's Disney kids singing songs, the Disney kids singing songs written by old men and being marketed to 6- and 7-year-olds. So some kind of change might have to happen again soon. But that's a whole other thing. So after the initial surge of the late 70s, commercially the Ramones were never embraced. Bands around them were, but never them. Virtually ignored by radio, 80s MTV, and even other artists. They never stopped, and regardless, have a following worldwide that's as devoted as ever. I went with them once to South America. There's 50,000 people, riots for tickets, screaming fans outside. It was the reaction I always thought they deserved. And when punk finally broke in '91, the Ramones still weren't brought along for the ride. Even though the bands Nirvana, Rancid, Green Day wouldn't have existed without them. You know, punk bands now sell 10 times, with one record, their first or second record, sell 10 times the amount of records that the Ramones did throughout their career with 20-something records. And that's why I go over to Johnny Ramone's house and do yard work 3 times a week, just to absolve some of the